Voter ID laws deprive voters of their rights. That's an objective fact that has been measured time and time again in state after state. It reduces participation and is in direct opposition to our democratic values and ideals of greater participation in our democracy by the people, of whom every single one is equal in the eyes of the law. Fundamentally interferes in the American democratic process. And it's been shown in study after study with objective, irrefutable proof that these kinds of laws reduce voter participation by 2 to 3 percentage points. Members, Mr. President, that represents tens of thousands of votes that either don't get cast or don't get counted, which of course affects electoral outcomes, but more troubling is it fundamentally interferes with basic foundational individual freedoms and rights for everyone to fully and freely and fairly participate in our democracy. And members, what about democracy is so important? I hesitate to wade into these waters because, of course, we had the most amazing civics teacher and government teacher in the world speak before me, Steve Swedzinski, but I will venture forth. But first I want to say, Senator Newman did say earlier, Mr. President, that there was a lack of confidence in our elections and in our democracy, and Senator Klein and Senator Port pointed out, yeah, that may be true, but that's true because they've been told a bunch of lies this last couple of years. So I wish were spending this morning talking about the amazing electoral and democratic system we have in place here in Minnesota. It's mighty and it's awesome. And it didn't come about by mistake. It came about because this legislature as an institution, not this legislature, but the Minnesota legislature has put together an incredible electoral system that allows for better and more access by more people. We have a civic tradition of participation. We've cleared out a lot of the friction and static and barriers that prevent people's access to exercise that democratic franchise of theirs. And I wish we were talking about those things and celebrating them, because we should be really, really proud and really, really excited about that, and not diminishing that, as this legislation does and as this debate does. We have the best system in the country. And in our democracy, our vote is our voice. Your vote is your voice. And in no other system of government do you create the same kind of legitimacy of governance, because it's a rule by the people, of the people, for the people. And it creates a level of transparency and accountability like no other that we've ever had or that we have anywhere in the world. So better decision-making occurs. Better and more proper functioning of government, always in need of improvement. That's why we have this chamber and this body to discuss the problems and the shortcomings and the shortfalls, and we invite the public and the citizens in to participate with us in that problem solving. But in the end, it's the only system that delivers the kinds of laws and rules and oversight and governance that are developed primarily with the interests of the people and the public good in mind. It's this kind of system that delivers more economic prosperity and more sustained economic prosperity. We are on a journey to achieve those ideals, but in a system of democracy fueled by direct vote of representatives, we have a better chance of achieving that ideal and that aspiration than in any other. And it's a system where we're governed by the rule of law and not through favoritism or patronage or family association. Every single person, despite the circumstances of their birth, is equal. And that is most tangibly and literally manifest in your ability and your right to vote. And this bill diminishes that right and diminishes our democracy as a consequence. It's founded in the ideas of freedom and of liberty and a fairness of access to opportunity. And this discussion, of course, doesn't come without a cost. Whether you believe Senator Newman that this is going to be practically free, but it's still going to cost some money, or you believe Senator Port, there's going to be an ongoing $8 million cost year over year, that's money. That's resource that could be spent to meet the needs of the people that are crying out to have that freedom and fairness of opportunity. I wish we were talking about and learning about and spending the time in the political capital learning about, for example, youth homelessness in Minnesota. On any given night in Minnesota, 6,000 young people disconnected, separated from their families, are homeless or experiencing homelessness or are at risk of homelessness. You don't see them under freeway bridges necessarily or in the parks. But what are they doing? They're sleeping on sofas. They're using their bodies to obtain food and what they need. They're crowding into apartments with each other. They're separated from their community. They're separated from their families. They're not getting an education. They don't have access to health care. They don't have access to mental health services. They either come from a background of familial rejection because they're LGBTQ, or they have other dysfunction in their community or their family. They're coming out of sexual and physical abuse, and as a consequence of experiencing homelessness, are subjected to sexual and physical assault, sex trafficking. 50% of homeless youth are experiencing serious mental health challenges. 36% have chronic physical health problems. We don't have a mental health continuum that even begins to respond to their needs. We could devote that $8 million per year to serving those young people, and we could get rid of the fact that 6,000 young people are homeless tonight. We could be spending the whole morning learning about the reality, the lived experience of Minnesota citizens who aren't fully participating in this system of governance and in this democracy. We could be devoting those resources to that, but we're not. We're creating a contrived set of issues and problems, and we're wasting time and wasting money on a problem that doesn't exist, and diminishing our democracy, diminishing ourselves, diminishing this institution as a consequence. Members, please vote red.